Howard Roth. Your form is not filled out as in wish to speak or not wish to speak. We'll put you at the bottom of the list.
Recording in progress.
Good evening. The Planning Commission meeting of March 9th, 2022 will come to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The secretary will call roll.
Commissioner Hodge.
Here.
Commissioner Mann.
Here.
Commissioner Gray.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Rice.
Here.
Chairperson Tolson.
Here. May I have a motion for approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
A motion was made by Commissioner Hodge and a second by Commissioner Mann. Unless there are any objections, the agenda stands approved. May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
Can I hear a second?
Second.
A motion was made by Commissioner Rice and Vice Chairperson Rice and a second by Commissioner Hodge. Unless there are any objections, the minutes are approved. The secretary will read the declaration of conflict. Are there any declarations of conflict?
If any member of the Planning Commission may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should so declare at this time.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of conflict? Hearing none, we'll move on. This is the time allotted for public statements or comments on all items other than public hearing items. Is there anyone in the chamber wishing to be heard on anything other than our agenda items? Do any members of the public wish to make a public statement via Zoom? If so, please use the hand raise function on your computer or *9 on your phone. Staff will unmute you when it is your turn.
There are no public comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any correspondence from the Deputy Director, City Planner?
Yes, Chairman Tolson, members of the Planning Commission, we did receive the supplemental staff report with 2 emails regarding agenda item 11.A.1. And also the other supplemental was related to tonight's minutes, which was the attachment that was missing to the minutes just approved.
Perfect. Thank you very much. May I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar?
Do we have a consent calendar?
I have nothing in the.
Perfect. Then we don't need to,
Easier to approve.
yeah. Perfect. Ready to move on to 11A1? Okay. This is the time and place set aside for the public hearing on the consideration of DA-2021-001. Therefore, are there any ex parte communications to report? Commissioner Gray? Commissioner Gray, can you hear us?
Yes.
Any ex parte communications? We didn't catch the answer there.
Oh, no.
Okay, thank you. May we have an oral report on this matter by staff?
Good evening, Chairman Tolson, members of the Planning Commission. Our Associate Planner, Naren Gunasekara, is here to present the presentation.
Good evening. The applicant, Runkle Canyon LLC, is requesting an amendment to the Runkle Canyon Woodlands Project Development Agreement, DA-04-01, to allow a 5-year time extension. The project is located at the southern terminus of Sequoia Avenue and Talbot Avenue. It consists of 1,595 acres, and the original approval included open space, a neighborhood park, a private park, a public trailhead and trails, a public water tank, 25 custom home lots, 298 detached single-family units, 138 senior condos, and a senior recreational facility and related infrastructure. The development has been ongoing since 2005. Construction is still pending for the homes for the 25 custom lots, the 138 attached senior condominiums, and the senior recreation facility. The development agreement is a contract between the city and the developer to define the development project's rules, regulations, commitments, and policies for a specific period of time. According to the applicant, construction has been delayed due to COVID-19 and the time lost to their attempt to change the general plan designation for the senior housing and estate lots that was denied by the City Council on August 9, 2021. Extending the term will allow the project to be completed and the finalization of the public benefits from the development agreement to be realized. There is a remaining affordable housing in lieu fee of $900,000 to be paid. This will be paid once the zoning clearance is issued for the senior development. Extending the agreement will not have an effect on the approved residential density, the number of approved units, the underlying subdivision, or infrastructure improvements. The remaining improvements are within the scope of the original project description and the certified environmental impact report and addendum. It is recommended that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution recommending to the City Council to approve Development Agreement Amendment Number DA-04-01, Amendment Number 4, also known as DA-2021-0001 for a 5-year time extension. Thank you, and staff is available for questions.
Any questions of staff?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodge, please.
Could you highlight the recent denial of the application by the city council to change the scope of the project? Just so everybody's entirely aware of what that was, would you describe what that application was meant to, rather what the application was?
The August 2021 is what you're asking?
Yes.
There was a general plan pre-amendment screening request in front of the City Council to, I believe, change the general plan designation and increase the density.
I'll be more specific, Commissioner Hodge. The pre-screening last year was to, in part, to relocate the senior units from the main 138 unit site in the center of the project to add or replace the estate lots with senior units on the estate lots scattered throughout the site. And that involved a general plan pre-screening, which went directly to City Council, which is why the commission may not have heard of that directly. The City Council essentially did not move forward with that request to change up that situation. So they're back to the original approval, which is 25 estate lots, and there are 138 senior units on the senior site.
Okay. There was when the project was originally approved, there were some affordable units involved, and then subsequently there was a payment of in lieu fees to allow them not to build, or rather not to set aside certain units for affordable housing. Now, I realize that's water under the bridge. My only question is, when did that happen?
In 2016, the Affordable Housing Agreement was amended, and initially there was there was a buyout for 30 units for $30,000 each, which is $900,000, and then in 2016 the agreement was amended again to increase the buyout to an additional $3.1 million, which has been paid to this date.
In the original, well, and there's some money left over, isn't there? But,
There's $900,000 left for the senior house.
and when was this project originally approved? 2014?
2004.
Four.
This project wasn't approved in 2004.
Specific plan was approved around 2004, which allowed for the development of the site.
That's fine. But I mean, when they came to us and they asked for Planning Commission approval of the project, I was on the Planning Commission, and it wasn't 2004. So there was another step that occurred thereafter, in which, as I recall, the affordable housing was before us, the senior units was before us, and the totality of the project was before us. And that was, I want to say 2014 or 15, probably 15. It's my memory.
Yeah, that's probably the modification.
There were multiple
There's multiple entitlements on this.
multiple plan developments for the house constructions and the design of the homes. Also, an entitlement for the senior complex, which is a separate mod.
Right.
So those were in those earlier dates. I don't have the exact dates.
Okay, that's important to know then. So originally, the whole shooting match, the zoning amendments, and the what did you say, the planned development?
Right. The original development agreement, which hence its name 2004-01, is from 2004.
Got it.
So the development agreement, the specific plan, the master track map and PDs started way back then. Eventually, the housing developers came in with the housing of the units, which came back with the individual plan development permits for the structures.
And the earlier 3-year extension was administratively approved, correct? Because I don't remember them coming to us to ask for 3 years.
for the
That came to the Planning Commission in 2019.
yeah. The last 3-year extension came to the planning
They've
commission.
been my few absences. All right,
And-
very good. All right, that's all the questions I have right now.
Thank you much. Commissioner Rice.
My my first question is, when is the last time we gave a 5-year extension on top of a 3-year extension from the Planning Commission? Because usually it works the other way around, where we would give a 3 or a 5-year extension, and then if they didn't build it in that amount of time, it went a 3-year extension. So I don't recall us doing it this way before.
So I could jump in on that one, Vice Chair Rice. A little different than tentative track maps and plan development permits. Tentative maps have specific restrictions on the amount of time limits we could grant. The development agreement provisions don't have the same 3-year limits as plan development permits and tentative maps. So we feel that's a different code section, and you would have discretion on how many years you might want to recommend to the city council.
Okay, that'll work for now.
Any of your questions there, Commissioner Rice?
Not right.
Beautiful. Commissioner Gray, any questions?
I do have a couple of questions. I think it's just clarification. So it looks like the Second Amendment, which was the August 15th, 2016, it originally had 62 affordable housing dwellings for the low income. And then in the proposal or the presentation, it says somebody stated that 2016, the 30 units were amended. Does this mean that it's now down to 6 or 32, or are we at 60, or is there no affordable senior housing at this point?
Commissioner Gray, the senior units have been bought out. There's no more affordable units.
Okay, so that's what the amendment for the Second Amendment was on August 16th. So it's doing the 62 in lieu of the
Yeah.
development in lieu of the 62 units.
Yeah, the
Correct.
buyouts all occurred previously, and there's no more affordable units on the site, so there'd be 138 market rate units for the seniors at this point. And we received in lieu fees to use the affordable housing funds in a different manner.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will open the public testimony portion of the hearing. Would the applicant like to present the project?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Daphne Goxon. I'm here today representing Runkle Canyon LLC, which is the joint venture that is building out the Runkle Canyon development. Hopefully, we're here today to bring some good news and to get everybody on the same page. I think everybody here tonight wants to see this project finished and built out, and that's really what we're hoping to do with this extension. You can go to the next slide. So just to give some history, Runkle Canyon LLC is a joint venture between two of the nation's largest home builders. Between the two companies, there's over 100 years of home building experience, and the companies have a long history of working in the city of Simi Valley. I have a few people here with me today. James Vaughn is an attorney. He actually worked on the original development agreement. There was a letter submitted in your staff report that was prepared by James that just explains a little bit about what a development agreement is and what the implications are of this application. On the Zoom is Tom Wong. He is an architect with Daniele and Associates. They're actually the original architects for this project, and they're currently working with us to update the plans for the senior site in order to submit to Plan Check, and we hope to have those plans submitted to Plan Check within the next 6 to 8 weeks. So he's available to answer questions if anyone has any questions about that. Also, Nicole Kukluk-Waldman, who's a consultant working with us, and then Hagai Masler is here as well. I think most people in the room are familiar with Hagai at this point. So you can go to the next slide. This was already explained about in the staff report, but the Runkle Canyon specific plan was approved by City Council. It's an existing document, covers, as mentioned, almost 1,600 acres.
Excuse me.
Daphne, I need to interrupt.
Oh, yeah.
Chairman, one of their consultants that they just listed is an active client of mine. With that, with my financial interest, I need to recuse myself. I was unaware that one of their consultants was a client. So,
Yes, Chair. Commissioner Mann just mentioned until seeing that slide just recently, he wasn't aware that one of the people working on this project is a source of income to him. So for that reason, he wants to recuse himself from this item. So the proper procedure would be for Commissioner Mann to step down from the dais until this item is resolved.
this is the only item, correct?
Correct.
So I'll just recuse myself and I'll just be gone. Sorry, gentlemen. Sorry, apologize.
Thank you very much.
Should I wait for him to leave before continuing, or does it?
Let's give it 2 minutes,
Okay.
please.
Small world.
Simi Valley.
Okay, so I'll continue. So the Runkle Canyon specific plan, as was mentioned, it was approved by City Council, and it was approved separately from other entitlements on this project, including the development agreement. So the development agreement is the only item before the commission today. The specific plan, the track map, those entitlements continue to exist in perpetuity and are not affected by the actions today. So you can move to the next slide. As mentioned, 3 years ago, we were here for an extension. At the time of that extension, building permits had only been issued for 74 of the 298 single-family homes. Today, all building permits have been issued for those homes, and in fact, almost all of them are occupied. There's only about 7 left that are just finishing up construction and waiting to be closed. So really the only remaining parts of this project to be built, as was mentioned in the staff report, are the 138 attached senior condominiums, the senior recreation center, and the 25 estate lots. But I just don't want there to be a thought that we have been just twiddling our thumbs the last 3 years. There's been constant construction for the last 5 years. A significant number of homes have been built during that time. In fact, in the last 5 years, not a day has gone by that some work hasn't been going on in the Runkle Canyon Woodlands community. Next slide. So just to touch on the question from Commissioner Hodge and just to clarify some items for the commission, in 2020, after some exhaustive consumer research based on our experience in home building, we believe the senior housing element was just not the best option for the market. The design of the senior homes are stack flats with elevators. There's small units, there's communal hallways, communal elevators. It wasn't what we believe that seniors were looking for in housing, in senior housing. So we proposed this general plan amendment pre-screen. We worked with staff for 2 years on that process. And just to clarify what it would lower the density at the senior site from 2-story apartments with elevators to duplexes, and then split up the estate lots into 2 or 3 lots each, so still fairly large lots, and have single-family senior housing there as well. So that was what we proposed. That's what we thought was a great alternative for this area and for that demographic. Unfortunately, the community, they didn't like those changes. City Council didn't like those changes, so that request was denied, and we've been moving forward ever since. So as was mentioned, we were in re-entitlement for 2 years. However, during that time, as I mentioned, we were not doing nothing. We were building single-family homes, but work did pause on the senior site and the estate lot sites just while we were waiting to see whether the changes would be approved by City Council. As was mentioned, Council and the neighbors, they asked us to move forward with the original plan, and that's what we're here to do today. We're going to need some more time in order to build those homes. Next slide. So the DA renewal before you today is just to give us enough time to build out the project as approved and as planned out in the original specific plan. There's no substantive changes being proposed to either the senior site or the estate lot homes. The senior site, as was mentioned, we're working with the architects right now to update the architecture. Those plans that were originally prepared are no longer compliant with modern code. So we're just making some changes to bring it into compliance with code. Nothing that is not in substantial conformance with the original approved plans. And as was mentioned, we're actively working on that, and we hope to submit to plan check very soon for that project. The estate lot homes, will be developing those in a similar manner to how the single family homes were developed. We'll be starting to work on that once the senior project is the big one that's going to take the longest. So we're going with that first, and then we'll start doing the estate lot homes as well. And the joint venture will be building out those homes. So yeah, as was mentioned, we've already completed a substantial amount of the project. 298 single-family homes are either occupied or move-in ready. 99% of the HOA landscaping is complete. Residents probably noticed that landscapers are there constantly trying to have that landscaping complete before the summer comes in. This is obviously the best time to work on landscaping. Also, the grading and all of the utilities work is complete at the senior site and the estate lot sites. So all of the heavy earth moving and machinery involved work is already complete. The only thing left to do is build on top of it. And here's an aerial image of the senior site so you can see, it's graded, there's roads put in, it's ready to go for housing to be put in. So why do we need more time? Obviously, as was mentioned, we're updating the plans. That takes time. Submitting to the city, going through plan check takes time. And then building homes takes time. This isn't something that can be done instantaneously. In addition, the homes that are left to be built, these stacked flats, are much more complicated both to get through plan check and also to build than the single family homes that we've already built. So it just takes time to complete all of these steps. We're doing our best to build out the project, but this development agreement expires in 3 months, and it's impossible to complete this amount of work in that short of an amount of time. So I just want to clarify what a denial today would mean, because I think that there's some confusion. A denial does not mean that the project cannot be built. The specific plan is already in place. The final map has already been recorded. What the development agreement is an agreement between the city and the developer laying out the conditions for development. It's not the approval or the general plan designation that allows the homes to be built. A denial of the extension also does not mean that we can move at a slower pace to complete the project. As I mentioned, 3 months is not enough time to complete this project. It would be impossible. So we think 5 years is realistic, but it's nonetheless an aggressive timeline to build the type of housing that is left to be built on this site. In particular, the senior homes we think are going to take a long time to get approved, to build, and then also to sell, just based on the type of housing that it is. If the development agreement extension is denied today and it's allowed to expire, we will have to negotiate with the city on a new development agreement. That means that city staff will have to go back, draw up a new agreement. We'll have to go through attorneys. We'll have to come back to the commission, to city council. All of this takes time, and all it does is delay what I think everybody here wants to see happen, which is the build out of the homes and the finalization of this community. So I just want to be clear that a denial doesn't get the homes faster. It actually slows things down. So our request is approve a DA extension so that we can get this project done as was originally envisioned in the specific plan. From our understanding, the neighbors want this project built, the HOA wants the project built, city staff, commissioners, city council, everyone just wants to see the project built as was originally approved. This is the path forward, is with this extension today. And then just the last slide. So we're ready to finish this project, but we're going to need this extension in order to make that happen.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the applicant? We're going to go with Commissioner Rice, Vice Chairman Rice.
Thank you. I'd Just one question. If you're so ready to go, why is it you need 5 years and not, say, 3 years or 2 years?
So 3 years is just not a realistic amount of time for the number of homes that need to be built. There's 163 homes left to be built. That's about 2.7 homes per month with a 5-year timeline. A 3-year timeline would actually require us to build the homes faster than we built the single-family homes in terms of the rate of home building and selling. It's just not realistic. If 3 years is approved in lieu of 5, we'll probably be back here in 3 years, unfortunately, asking for another extension.
Then I have a question of staff when I get a chance. So.
Commissioner Hodge.
Yes, thank you. So I just like a couple of confirmations, I think. The plan that is being worked on now and that it is expected to be introduced, or rather submitted to staff in the next several weeks, is for the senior project, correct?
Correct, yes.
All right. I'm having, well, let me take a step back. The project is envisioned to go into the area that you showed us with the aerial shot with streets that have already been laid out, correct?
That's the senior site, yes.
And previously in the application that you brought to the city in August of 2021, was that those areas where the senior project is envisioned to go, those roads that are placed and ready to go, were those then going to become single-family homes?
That area was proposed to be duplexes, and the roads were already built, so we had designed it around those roads to have duplexes in lieu of the stack flats.
All right, duplex is not associated with the age-restricted senior units, correct?
No, those would be age-restricted senior units, as would have the single-family homes proposed on the estate lots would also have been age-restricted. So that would have met the requirement for the number of age-restricted units. The only thing that would have been lost would be the estate lot homes. There would not have been any. So it was actually a reduction in the total number of units.
Mm-hmm. So when did you do that study that you concluded that, or rather that your employer, not you, but the applicant concluded that there was limited demand for that kind of housing, for senior housing in that area?
It's not limited demand for senior housing. It's a limited demand for the stack flat style homes that are approved under the specific plan. So I don't know if you have access to the architectural plan. Since we weren't proposing any changes, they're not included in the staff report, but they're quite small units. I think they're under 1,000 square feet each. Elevators, shared hallways, especially when COVID came around, no one was interested in that sort of living. But even before that, it just wasn't the type of housing that someone in Simi Valley would be interested in having. So that was why we were proposing a lower density project.
I get that, but I asked a different question. When did you do that study?
Oh, I don't know. Was there a study done? I'm not sure if we have that. It's just, internal, just market
Terrific.
study.
When?
I don't know.
2019, 2020, right at the beginning of COVID.
All right, well, you did it without anticipating COVID coming forward. But so my question to you is then, was any work done internally to try to develop a different plan to be submitted to the city, say in 2020 or at a different time in 2019, to change the design of the project to come up with something that the applicant, that your employer, your company felt was more appropriate?
That would be what we designed for the general plan pre-screen. Would be what we
in
felt was
August.
more appropriate.
And you changed the number
Well,
of
that
units.
was when it went to hearing. It was submitted. We actually worked with the city for 2 years on that design, the redesign.
Okay, I heard something, and I'm having a little bit of difficulty understanding. I heard that the senior units were going to be, the age-restricted units were going to be spread out into the areas of the estate lots. Is that true?
Yes. So there would have been duplexes on the senior site, and then the estate lots, some would be split into 2 and some 3 separate lot sizes. So instead of 1 large lot, it'd be 2 or 3 smaller lots with single-family homes on them. But all of those would have been age-restricted in addition to the duplexes on the senior site.
So instead of I would suspect, more affordable 1,000-square-foot apartments, you would have put single-family homes spread out 2 or 3 units per estate lot, correct?
Yeah, they would be single-family homes.
And those would be significantly more expensive.
I don't know about significantly. They're still age-restricted, which depresses the prices.
Okay.
The idea is that they're more marketable. That's something that consumers are interested in, which obviously would draw a higher price. The stacked flats will be more difficult to sell, so the price will become depressed as a result.
You know, I remember when this came before us back in whatever year that was, 2015 or 16 is what I remember. And I remember Commissioner Rice being very concerned about the elevators. And you guys weren't concerned about the elevators a lick. I didn't hear a single concern about the number of elevators or where they were placed. And as I recall, and I remember this very well, at the time of that hearing, there were a number of some very respected people in our community that I don't know if they came down independently or if they came down at the request of the applicant. Judy Pepio is one of the persons that I remember being here. She's a very well-respected person, especially on senior issues, and they were in great support of this project. And there was a lot of seniors, and I remember they were sitting in the back, cheering for this project to be built. And I remember when hearing something about it would take close to 3 years to get built, there was this audible sigh, because they had very much expected that it would be built within a certain period of time, that it would be something that would be in a nice area, up on a hill, great views, nice amenities. We got sold on the amenities, et cetera. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is I'm trying to take a look at this as objectively as I can, and I want to be able to say that I make decisions based upon facts and their reasonings. I still don't see, well, you said that you need more than 3 years.
Correct.
And you're a big company. And I mean, you guys aren't no slouches. And I really don't understand, you're telling us that it would take 2-point-something units per, did you say month?
2.7 units per month, yes, is the average.
But you're building multifamily projects, so those numbers aren't necessarily the same. It's not like single-family homes where you're building this home, this home, this home. It's a single-family project, so I don't think that analysis flies. I'm bringing this up. Honestly, I'm not trying to be unkind, but I just want you to know that I haven't seen any reasoning so far that would say 5 years.
All I can say is, we have a lot of experience in home building, and this is the amount of time that will be required. If you decide to go with 3 years, don't be surprised when we're back here in 3 years. But even though you might think the multifamily is faster to build, it's actually slower. It's more complicated to build than a single-family home.
So once you get the plans through plan check, what's the next step?
And we start building, once they're approved, we would start working towards construction.
Okay, and what's the anticipated time for completion of construction?
I would have to turn to a guy for that.
Between 3.5 to 4 years to start the last home, and then be complete within 5 years. There's one step that happens. We have to re-scarify the lots.
Yeah, could you come down and you need to. Your name, please?
Hagai Masler with the Runkle Canyon LLC. The only step between getting the building permits approved and starting construction is we have to re-scarify the lots. Those lots have been sitting out there in the sun for many years. So we just have to re-scarify them, re-water them. That takes a few weeks, and then we can start construction. Our goal is to be fully completed, done with the last CVO, these seniors moved into the homes all within the 5-year period. So it's not to start the last building right at the end of the 5 years. It's to be completely done within 5 years.
So you don't, this is 138 units. It's 2-story, 1,000 square foot, apparently, units. You're saying it's going to take 4 to 5 years to build that?
We're also building 13 elevators. Every one of those buildings has an elevator. Elevators are extremely complicated and time-intensive to build.
Okay, I'll give you 6 months to build elevators. Where's the other 3.5, 4 years?
Well, it's an elevator for every single building. So we can't build every single building at one time. We have to phase the project as we sell these homes. So you sell a phase of homes, you build that phase, you sell another phase of buildings, and it just takes time to be able to sell them, move buyers in, and complete the entire project. And I just want to note—
How many phases?
I don't know the exact phase amount. I believe there's 7 or 8, but I was going to say, I just want to note, 2 builders working at the same time built 298 homes over 8, 9, 10 years. Building is, especially right now with all the supply chain issues we're having, all the price increases we're having, everything's taking longer. Plan checks are taking longer. The building process is just taking a lot longer these days.
The project, when did you do the roads and do the grading?
I believe that was completed in 2016. I don't remember exactly, 2015, 2016.
And what was the reason for not commencing construction on that phase of the project at that time?
There's always been concern within the venture that the senior community as designed wasn't the best product for the market. That's internally, we still believe that it's not the best product for the market. Council said, move ahead with this product. We're moving ahead with that product. But there was always a concern that we would not be producing and spending, a huge amount of financial resources to building these buildings, and then we wouldn't be able to sell them.
Did you express that concern to us when you came to get this project approved with that component?
Unfortunately, I wasn't at that hearing, so I can't.
I was.
Okay.
But I don't remember it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Rice? Commissioner Hodge. Commissioner Gray.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. You mentioned 6 to 8 weeks to submit plan checks to the city.
That's correct, yes. And the architect is on the Zoom call if you have any questions about how that's going or process with that.
Could that not have happened shortly after the August 2021 denial?
We have been working since then. It's a time-consuming process to update these plans.
So this is the end of that time to complete it, 6 to 8 weeks from now to
Exactly.
complete that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then why would you want to wait until after the senior condos are built to start on the design or the plan submission of the estate?
The estate lots will actually be much simpler. We're intending to use a home design that already exists in-house with the home building companies. So those will be faster to sell and build than the senior condominiums, which are much more complex. So that's why we're starting with the more complicated. It's also only 25 versus 138.
There's no way of submitting them at the same time and because you've already got the...
Yeah, we can work on them concurrently, yes.
As opposed to waiting till the end of that time.
We're just, until we submit, which is happening shortly. It's not like we're going to wait until plan check is complete for the senior lots.
Okay. I think that's all the questions we have right now, but we're going to reserve the right to bring you up again. Thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any questions to the staff at this point, or? Oh, okay, there we go. So what we're going to do is there anyone in the chamber wishing to be heard on this matter? We've got some cards here. And what we're going to do is invite you to come up and speak. We'll have a 3-minute time frame. I'm going to call you up as the cards were submitted to me. And at the end of the 3 minutes, we're going to ask you to wrap it up or we're going to cut you off.
Chairman Tolson, we don't have that many people here. If people want to speak for 5 minutes, I'm okay with that.
Me too.
That's okay. It's up to you. I mean, but as a consensus, I would think that we could afford additional time. I mean, if nobody else
Let's
objects.
compromise. Let's go 4 minutes.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
And Chair, my only comment to that is generally for public comment, if you give more time to one, you have to give more to all. So yeah, if you establish 4 minutes, it would be 4 minutes for everybody.
Perfect. So we're going to go with 4 minutes. So we're going to ask first Al Alvarez to speak, followed by Ivana Mayer.
Good evening, Planning Committee. My name is Al, and I live at the Woodlands. At this point, I don't think we have any choice but to agree to an extension. However, I think 5 years is longer than is needed. In 2019, the builder asked for a 3-year extension to finish building out the project. In the 3-year extension they asked for, they were going to finish building the single dwelling homes at the Woodlands, build 138 senior units, and sell or develop the 25 custom estate lots as per the original plan that had been approved. They accepted the extension the city gave them, which included stipulations that they would not make changes to the number of homes, one of them, that were going to be built. However, as it was stated before, last summer, they came before City Council and asked to have major changes made to the original plan. Luckily, City Council saw through the smoke and mirrors and denied it. Today, here we are again, and KB is asking for a 5-year extension to build the same 138 senior homes, develop and sell 25 custom estate lots. And now it is less than they were gonna build 3 years before because the single dwelling homes have already been built. So why did they ask for a 3-year extension back in 2019? Now we need a 5-year extension to build less amount of homes. I've been living at the Woodlands for 5 years, and having to live in a construction zone for another 5 is not what we had planned on when we moved in. The research that the builder claims as to why the project has not been completed, sorry, they're bogus. It's like copy and paste, the same excuse every time they ask for an extension. They wasted 2 years in a super hot real estate market. They wasted 2 years when interest rates were as low as they've been in a long, long time. And then they claimed that they did this because they thought that the senior condominiums would not sell. Seniors are not one size fits all, by the way. Some seniors would love to live in a small 900 square foot condominium. Some would love to live on a estate lot to live the rest of their lives. And some would like to live in the middle of a single dwelling family home. I believe at this point the City Council should grant an extension, but before the extension is given, the builder needs to present to the city a timeline for completion of the different phases, and there has to be consequences if they fail to perform. I also believe that the builder has to go on record, guaranteeing that under no circumstances they will make changes from the original plans that were approved, especially on the number of homes being built. It's hard for the homeowners to believe what they're saying when that's not what they did 3 years ago. And lastly, please consider the fact that as of right now, there's 163 parcels that are not paying towards our HOA fees. If this project would have been completed in time or back in 2019, think of all the money that the HOA would have by now on that. And think of all the money that we're not gonna have in the HOA fees for the next 5 years. Do the math. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ivana Mayer, followed by Dusan Stankovic.
Dear City Planning Commissioners, my name is Ivana and I live in the Woodlands. It is obvious that the builder is not currently in any position to complete the project by June 2022. I think 5 years is a long period of time, but I am not against the project being extended and the extension. We do need to make this the last extension though. Unfortunately, another concern is that KB has no plans with the city for the estate lots as of now. As we all know, California is in a housing crisis. Housing needs are at an all-time high. I'm sure that KB is aware of the fact that you can sell anything you build, but the key is to build. In the letter to the city, KB claims, and now the story has changed, that market, recession, COVID, lack of subs, and possible difficulty in selling homes for their extension application. KB continues to build and sell homes during COVID, and just recently sold and built 40 homes in our community in approximately the last 8 months. Also, KB currently has 87 active selling construction sites in California per their own website. So why is our community not finished? Additionally, some of our residents have been living in an active construction zone for the past 6 years, which impacts our community's quality of life. Unfortunately, during this entire time, our HOA is not being compensated by the builder for the unbuilt units. The homeowners all bought the homes with the promise that dues will go down when the units are being built. At this point, the homeowners association has to make up for the lost income from all those 163 units for the next couple of years or longer. This could raise our dues to compensate for KB's poor management skills of this development. All of their claims are excuses, deceits, and certainly not reality, and they need to be put to end and finish the development as promised, both to the city and the homeowners. KB's irresponsible project management put all of us in a lose, lose, and lose situation. They're losing money, the city is losing money, and the HOA is losing money and quality of life. I'm asking you to help us and protect our investments and our well-being. Come up with a strict timeline, securities, and encourage KB Homes to come to an agreement with our HOA for the dues lost. Otherwise, we will still be sitting here in 5 years in the same situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dusan Stankovic, followed by Doreen Stoughton.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dushan. I live in the Woodlands, like my neighbors here. So if you can't tell by my really weird sounding name, I'm Serbian. And my people have this old legend, origin is back from like the Middle Ages, about building the fort on Skadar. So basically these three noblemen buddies, they decide they're gonna build this grandiose, beautiful fort. And every time they wanna start building, there's some kind of devils going on and witches, and they just never really start and just keeps on going forever. Eventually, after years and years, they kind of resolve it by basically human sacrifice. So I think that's kind of the line where KB kind of stopped until now. So hopefully we'll stop there. So essentially, I was personally involved in multiple multifamily projects being built in usually Los Angeles area. The latest one would be a 48-unit building being built in Mariposa, which basically was done within, I believe, 10 months, 48 units, 2 elevators, no problem. During one of the HOA meetings, Mr. Masler claimed that it was basically impossible to obtain those elevators because of different shortages. No other builders I ever worked with had those problems. They worked with Cone, they worked with Schneider, they got those elevators, no problems whatsoever. The other problem listed was basically money, and I just want to read something really quick from KB's report that was submitted to Business Wire end of 2021. That their revenues grew 40% to 1.68 billion, home deliveries rose 28%, average selling price increased 9%, and home building operating income advanced 85% to 214.4 million. So I think it makes it pretty clear that what the builder is trying to do here is basically just buy more time to try and do something else on the expense of homeowners and my neighbors. That's all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Doreen Stoutland, followed by Royce Cadwell.
Hi, good evening, Planning Commissioners, and thank you for your time. I'm actually standing up here in agreement with an extension, and I would like our community completed as I was told during my purchase 5.5 years ago. Unfortunately, listening to earlier comments, it sounds as if this 5-year is basically for your 138 units at the senior center. And so that really concerns me. So of course, my greatest concern is the loss of income to our homeowners association over the next 5 years. KB has not and does not contribute any HOA dues on 138 senior units and 25 estate lots. Not until a unit is delivered into a phase, and only then are the HOA dues being paid in that phase once annexed. KB has contributed to the homeowners association, for example, by common area landscaping, water, power, and turnovers, which this is not uncommon during the development of a community, but our DRE budget was based on these 163 lots as income to cover expenses and reserves for future repairs and replacements. We are all aware that inflation is at an all-time high, and our invoices we are paying our vendors are becoming increasingly higher just for their services alone now. KB has stated they need 2 to 3 months, they changed now to 6 to 8 weeks, to submit updated plans. So my guess, it will be at least 1 year before any of the models will be completed before selling even begins. Just today, I talked to someone who's very familiar with the KB sales model, and he also stated condos are usually the fastest to build. So I'd like to ask the committee if we could request timeline benchmarks to be put into place for this extension to move forward. This would provide the homeowners a comfort level that the project is actually progressing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We got Royce Cadwell, followed by Christian. I don't have a last name, Christian.
Hi, I'm Royce Cadwell. I just have, as opposed to, I agree with everything they've said. It's clear we need an extension. I don't think we need a 5-year. I think it needs to be less. And I think they need to be given a definite timeline, and that's it, and be done. Because it's really amazing to me how 2 other senior complexes have been built here recently in Simi, quite large ones, 2 stories. They were done in less than 5 years. I live across the street from that senior center. The streets have been in for at least 5.5 years because that's how long I've been there. And we were told when we bought our home that that senior center would be completed within 2 years, which was the timeline they were originally given. It's sitting there with nothing being done, just streets, chain link fence around it, and tarp now around it, which is falling down, fences are falling down. I, as a homeowner living across the street, and I'm sure others and even people in the area are tired of looking at that, and we want it done. We want them out. We want our HOA fees lowered. We need them out of the area. They've asked for extension after extension after extension. When we were at City Council 10 months ago now, they could have started. And here we sit with nothing done, yet asking for a 5-year extension. So I'm in agreement with everyone else. Clearly, we need an extension, but definitely not 5 years. And I think 3 years is even a lot, but that's just my opinion. So just some things to put out there for you to all consider.
Thank you very, very much. Christian, can we give a last name? And then my next card is a potential Howard Roth.
Kehoe, Christian Kehoe. Thank you, committee, for letting us having time to hear our concerns. I wasn't planning on being here tonight, but a couple things got to me thinking that I should be. In 2019, KB asked for a 3-year extension to finish their original proposed plans. And now it's 2022, and they want 5 more years. Just 3 years ago, they thought that they could get everything built, and they had more to build then. Essentially, they're asking for more time to build less. They just said that there's no way that they can finish in 3 years. But as I just said, 3 years ago, they thought that was enough time not only to build what they have left, but what they did build in the last 3 years. So what changed? Or is it a lie? Were they lying then, or are they lying now? Look, I understand we need an extension, just like everybody else says. I know they can't get this done by June. My only concern is that I feel it's a long time. And knowing KB and how just a few months ago, they came in front of the council and asked for changes to the project, changes that would have greatly affected our neighborhood. I worry with this length of an extension, length of an extension this long is somehow linked to another plan to make changes. I asked the committee if there is any way to give us homeowners reassurance that KB cannot come back and ask for any changes in the plans if given an extension. Seeing as how the last time you granted them a 3-year extension, they spent 2 years of it reworking and making changes. Maybe if they had been building instead of making changes, we'd be done by now. So if given this extension of 5 years, if given this extension of 5 years, all it does is give them more time to come up with changes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Howard Roth, do you want to speak?
Enter.
There's no other cards filled out. You can,
Chair, generally for public comments, each person has their time. They can't cede additional time to another person. And I think there might be some more people on Zoom as well who might want
I'll
to
speak for just a moment. So hi, my name's Howard Roth. My neighbors have done a great job expressing our concerns. We think it should be done quicker. One of the issues that KB gave to us as the reason they can't do it quicker is because of their sales model. They'll build a block, I don't know, 8, 10 units, I don't know, you'll have to ask them, and they will not start the next phase. So they've sold a certain amount of the preceding phase. That is the big issue, I believe. It's going to take them 5 years. At least that's what they think, I believe. I don't know for sure, but you might have to investigate that further. But my understanding is it's their procedure that's going to take so long. They can build them quicker. You just can't sell them fast enough, or at least they don't believe they can. Thank you.
thank you. We have some callers on Zoom.
Yes, we do. Hagita, could you please unmute yourself?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Jurgita Kumpita Galinaitene, and I live in 121 Redwood Grove Court. And I just wanted, to express my concern too, because...
You need to start the time. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry?
Please.
Do you hear me?
Yes, continue.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Well, we bought our house in 2019 and we were promised that everything gonna be done in 2 years. And the other 5 extra years, I mean, it's really too long. Please, if there is a way, let's make it shorter, because it's really not easy, to live in all this noise and dust, and all the streets are always, dusty. We cannot open, the window properly all the time. We cannot enjoy our backyards and front yards. It's really, I do understand they want to do business, but we live here. We are simple people, and we did our investments, and it is important to have quality life, right? So they have to stand behind their words too. I understand they are a big company, but we live here. So please, let's do everything to help them build it, but please, not 5 years. Well, I'm sorry I didn't prepare my speech. I just wanted to express, my feelings, and I believe my neighbor feelings too. So let's finish it up as soon as it's possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If there's anybody else on Zoom that wishes to speak, please raise your hand. Okay, does not appear like oh, sorry, a few people just raised their hands. Vivian Amato, could you please unmute?
Thank you so much, everyone, for your time. I understand. I keep hearing when I hear this venture now that's put together, how it doesn't fit our sales model. We can't sell these to make the money for the senior housing because we have to do it in phases. Basically, when I moved in, I was told it was all being done in conjunction. In conjunction means we're tackling all these developments, the larger lots, the senior housing, and then the regular housing, which I'm a part of. So I moved in thinking, great, this will be wrapped up, as soon as they had said the timelines. And the timelines were present time. We all bought our properties. We all went to the sales office, either the Leonard side or the KB side. We were all told, this is what in the future. The future was the timeline now, because they put those streets in years ago for the senior housing. So when I went to the meeting, I was furious to hear the plans and the changes. This could be done. We could have so much more development finished off by now if KB had just followed what their intentions were and what they were selling each and every one buyer in this development. We were all told this would be done, and the lots that are larger, they're going to put the cookie cutter KB homes. And now they're talking about 6 to 8 weeks. They've had 6 to 8 years. We're going back to 2014, 2004. Let's be honest. This is California. Anything sells if you put a sign on it. If anyone goes to realtor.com and looks what's for sale in here, 2 to 3 homes. Nothing is available in our development. I have people who want to move in here. They're moving like hotcakes. So when you tell me you have a problem selling them, build them all, put them all for sale, you could get this done probably in less than 2 years. That one gentleman said a 48 condo unit building was sold and built in 8 months. You need to put time constraints. If they go default, they should be pitching in on our HOA dues because we're all losing money. We're all paying upwards of $280 to $320 a month. We have no tennis courts, no pools. We have a park and grounds. That's a lot of money we're not Wood Ranch. We have one park and that's all we get. We don't get no pools, tennis, gyms. We're paying upward of $300 a month. If all those other spots were filled out as we were told, we would all be at least maybe 210, 2. I'm sorry, that's a car payment. And KB is not doing anything to turn that around. KB, Leonard, what's their new? Runkle Canyon LLC? That's the new name. It's called Runkle Canyon LLC. I bought KB. Others bought Leonard. Now it's a little new unit. So what do? Just roll up and create these new companies? And now they want 5 years? Screw you. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm frustrated. I have senior parents who I'd love to have been in the development. My mother said, please, when is it going to be done? I said, well, they said it'll be done. You know, they have a 3-year lease. They extended their 3-year contract. It'll be done in 3 years. I'm now 5-6 years later telling my mom, you can't move here. That is not okay from the get-go. So maybe y'all just ought to get your building skills together. We're going into some great weather. Get this development done. Let's get out of here. 2023, wrap it up. And if you don't meet your deadlines, you get fined. Sorry, this is the real world. I know KB and Leonard are huge. I've known
Please
KB
wrap
for
it up.
30 years.
Your time's up.
Okay, well, basically, I'm sorry for being frustrated, but my cheeks are red. Like, I'm upset. I'm upset for every owner.
Thank you very much.
Bill White, could you please unmute?
Hello. I had prepared to say a lot, but it seems my fellow neighbors beat me to it. So instead, I'll just say that I agree with everything said, pretty much everything said, and I believe that's virtually how all of us feel that live here in the Woodlands. I think the homeowners had a reasonable expectation that all the construction would be completed before the extension expired, including development of the senior center and the estate lots. And instead, there's currently 163 units that have yet to be developed and are not contributing to HOA dues. And as mentioned by the applicant, 99% of the HOA areas have been completed and are now the responsibility of the HOA. These areas were meant to be enjoyed by and maintained with the dues paid by 461 homeowners, but are now the responsibility of only 298 homeowners. It seems very unlikely that until the remaining lots are developed, our dues are going to continue to increase substantially from the already high rate of $283 a month in my case, in order to fund that necessary maintenance and reserves. I think it'd be very unfair to the current homeowners if this was allowed to continue for another 5 years or potentially longer, given this history. And another thing I wanted to comment on is Mr. Hagai represented that both builders worked continuously for 5 years to build the first 298 homes. In reality, KB chose to do virtually no building in the first 2.5 years, while Lennar was able to complete all of their building, and they built an equal amount of homes. Lennar was able to complete all of their building in the first 2.5 years, while KB chose to sit on their lots. So I read into that what you like. But in any case, I guess that's all I want to say. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. White.
I just want to check if there's anybody else who wishes to speak. Please raise your hand. Looks like we do not have anybody else who wishes to speak.
Thank you very much. Are there comments from staff regarding the statements made during the public hearing?
Narn, do you have any comments? No? Okay. So I'll respond to any follow-up questions. Again, it's if the, should I say, if a development agreement extension is not extended, it could take just as long to potentially develop the site. Not necessarily 5 years, but if the development agreement expires, then we'd almost have to start from scratch on some of those items. And I'll respond to any other questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Would the applicant like to respond to any of the comments regarding statements made during the public hearing?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. So just to give, it seems like we're all on the same page. It seems like everybody's comfortable with an extension today. There's just sort of a discussion about how long we need, why 5 years, and just some sort of consequences if we're not complete in that time. Just to clarify, in 2019, we actually did ask for 5 years, but we were granted 3 years. So it's sort of a similar situation to what we're in right now. We really don't want to come back and ask for another extension. We don't want to keep doing this. Clearly, nobody wants us to keep doing this. The 5 years gives us the time to ensure that that happens. Plan check is taking about 4 to 6 months. And as was mentioned, we have multiple phases for this project. This isn't just on our end that there are delays. The city wants to guarantee that they'll expedite our plan check or, create some sort of guarantees on their end. Maybe this can be completed faster, but there's a lot of factors involved in why it'll take 5 years. Also, to clarify, the development agreement requires the homes to be fully built, not just complete with building, with building plans approved. So that's another reason why it's 5 years instead of 3 years. We have to be completely finished with this project in the time on the development agreement. We feel from our experience home building that this is the amount of time that we need. Commissioner Hodge asked about the 3 years, and we cannot guarantee that we won't be back doing the same exercise if it's only 3 years. We do not want to come back and do this again, and it sounds like no one does. So 5 years is what we feel from our experience is necessary. The delays don't benefit us. I think some members of the public even mentioned that. Time is money. We're losing money by not building these units, by not handing responsibility of maintenance over to the HOA and all of these things that have been happening for years. We want to see this project built. Everyone wants to see this project built. We're just asking everybody to work together. We're asking for 5 years. We say that's what we need, and we're just hoping that the city can appreciate that and respect that request, and that we can all move forward together.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question?
Of the applicant?
Of the applicant?
Please.
Or the applicant's counsel, either one. That'd be fine.
Whoever from the team.
I just want clarification here. So what you're telling me is that if you have maybe as many as 8 phases of this to finish this. Is that correct? That's what I heard you say
Is that the
earlier.
number of-
Something
there's
somewhere in that. Well,
yeah,
let's say
this
5.
is multiple
we'll just say
buildings.
Right,
it's not
right.
one large
So let's say
apartment.
5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is if we give you an extension of 3 years, let's say, and you build 2 of these phases, that you have to stop and you can't do anything else beyond that point. Even if everything's been approved and you've started construction and you've finished 2 phases, that suddenly everything's just done and you'd have to come back and start this process again.
If it expires, I mean, obviously we apply for an extension before it expires so that there doesn't have to be that stop in construction. But yes, if we're not complete with the project and the 3 years pass and this expires, then we're in trouble. It has to be completely built. But yeah, did you want to go ahead?
Please
Just
state
quickly,
your name.
Yeah, James Vaughn, counsel for the applicant or the developer. The point of the 5 years is really to create certainty. I mean, we all heard a lot of frustration tonight on how long this has taken, and 3 years was not enough. And now we have certainty that the product the developer wanted to build was turned down, so we're going with this project. 5 years is what creates certainty, and that's the best way to get this done sooner. The problem with the development agreement expiring is you still have the lots, you still have the roads you saw out there, you'll have some buildings out there, but you no longer have the vested right to complete it under the plans and approvals and codes in place at the time. So to the extent there are new requirements, you got to go back to what's happening. You have to go back and revise plans to meet those new requirements. So we're asking for 5 years to make sure that we have the certainty to finish this project this time.
Okay, that's not how I read it, but okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, I have a couple.
I have one question.
Please.
I believe, I'm so sorry, I don't get names very well and I try to write them down, but you mentioned that you wanted to be able to turn over responsibility. What is the responsibility that either KB Homes or Runkle Canyon LLC or the other builder, what are you guys doing as responsibility that possibly the homeowners or the HOA is not doing? You said turning over responsibility. And I remember when my development that I live in, there was a similar situation. So what is it that differentiates what you're doing for the community right now versus when you complete it and turn over the responsibility to the HOA?
I'll answer that question, Haggai Masler with the venture. So as we complete the HOA common area in phases, we turn those phases over to the HOA maintenance company, and the HOA and then the HOA maintenance takes those financial responsibilities. We've built a significant amount of the landscaping, but we have not turned those HOA areas over to the HOA. We are still maintaining them. And so we're actually subsidizing the HOA in the fact that we could be turning these areas over, but we're not. It's actually why the HOA has a very robust reserve. They actually lowered the HOA monthly assessment last year because the reserves were so high. Even though the homeowners weren't there, the venture had been contributing to the landscape maintenance in these areas. And I am a board member myself on the Runkle Canyon, the Woodlands board, so I get to see kind of what our financial subsidies do to the HOA. And I do think that once this project is fully completed, then at that point, with our more homeowners in, we can actually turn over the areas that should have been turned over years ago.
So at this point, though, because I was up there the other day and I saw that Gothic is the landscapers that are up there. And so you guys right now, not the HOA, is paying for Gothic to go and maintain, because it gets to be very expensive. I can feel for some of these homeowners when they're expecting another almost, 150 homes that they don't have those HOA fees to help subsidize, and as well as, things that are assets that are going to need to be replenished in 5 or 10 years. So right now you guys are paying for Gothic, not the HOA?
We both are, but the venture is paying for the lion's share of the HOA common area maintenance. But both the HOA and the venture both use Gothic.
Okay, thank you.
Any chance of explaining what the split is on that?
I mean, it's a map. It's certain areas. This area is maintained by the HOA. Other areas are maintained by the venture.
60-40, 50-50, 70-30?
I would say at this point, it's 55, 60%, maybe 65% the venture, and then the remaining is the HOA. Like I said, the HOA has a very robust reserve. And so I know there are less units in the overall community, but the HOA is financially very healthy.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. No, we're working with the applicant right now. As it relates to the timeline, we talked about, you mentioned initially starting with the 138 senior condos. And then you talked about the 25 estate homes. At what point is the senior facility going to be done?
That'll be done concurrently with the senior homes, but okay.
So the plan is to get the homes under plan check and get the homes built. Once that process is done, then we'll focus on the estate lots and the recreation center. The rec center also was plan checked and almost permitted under an old code, and so we have the plans already done. We just have to update those as well. But the priority was getting the actual homes under construction as soon as we can. Our goal is to have all three phases, under construction simultaneously.
All three types.
All three types. The the estate lots, the recreation center, and the senior flats will all be under construction during the same time. But we're starting with the 138 senior homes first to put under plan check.
But the 138, you do those first before you even start the next?
We submit for plan check before we start the next. So we submit the 138 homes for plan check. That process takes 4 to 6 months. During that 4 to 6 months, then we work on the senior recreation facility. Those go into plan check, and then with the estate lots will also go into plan check. So they're all kind of going in consecutively, but all within a period within 6 to 9 months. We hope to have everything under plan check and be able to be permit ready. Our goal is to be done in 5 years. Trust us.
And then how long is it going to take to build the 25 estate lots?
All 25 estate lots will probably take 2.5 to 3 years. It's supply chain dependent. It's taken us 30 months to get a garage door today, so it's very hard to predict what in the future we're not going to be able to find. But I would say 2.5 to 3.5 years to build the 25 estate homes.
And the reason you don't do those first?
We wanted to focus on the most complex plans first, and those are the senior homes. The the estate lots, it's a far simpler building typology. No elevators, they're not attached. The sprinkler systems are far less intense on an estate lot versus an attached product.
Okay, and then your colleague mentioned consequences for not meeting goals. Is that something that's you're willing to discuss or to?
Neighbors mentioned that.
They exist. They're the bonds that we have outstanding for this project that we cannot collect until the project is fully completed. We have millions of dollars of bonds that we're paying a monthly assessment on every single month. So that is a very hefty penalty. We pay property tax on the estate lots and the senior site. That is a penalty. So there are penalties already in place. We've been paying them, which is why we really want the certainty today of getting 5 years and completing the overall project.
And then, assuming it's 5 years or maybe it's potentially 3 years, would you be willing to submit? This is so that the homeowners can know this is what our game plan is time-wise, if it's 5 years.
We can absolutely submit a development timeline of how long we think the entire project will take to complete. But it will be a 5-year timeline.
Perfect. Okay. We've got some additional questions. Commissioner Vice Chair Rice. Okay. Commissioner Hodge?
Yes, thank you. I just want to follow up on something that you said because I think I was confused by what you said. I heard you say one thing and then I thought I heard you say something else. You said that you are going to build the senior
facility
when you've got the other units complete. You use the word complete, and then you subsequently said that you're going to start doing the construction simultaneously on all three. are you planning on starting the senior
Facility.
thank you, at the same time as you're starting phase one?
So I'm sorry for the confusion. We will start the senior facility around the same time we are starting phase one. Can't say exactly the same time, but it is our goal to have the senior facility and the senior homes built at the same time.
All right,
We're
so-
not going to delay the senior facility in any way. The only delay is making sure that the most complex plans get to the city first, and then we can follow up with the more simple plans afterwards.
Have the plans for the senior facility been commenced?
Yes.
And when do you anticipate submitting them?
Those will follow right afterwards, maybe 10 to 12 weeks afterwards.
Okay, so we're talking about maybe 5 months, right? And then you would start construction when?
Depends on plan check. I don't know.
Help me out. So assuming that plan check is 4 months, okay? And I'm not, I apologize for cutting you off. I'm really just trying to push along. So you get the plans in 4 months. They go through 4 months of approvals, assuming that your people are really good, and I assume that they are, and they all get approved with a little bit of here and there's. And you have approved plans within 9 months, 10 months. When do you go to work?
9 to 10 months.
All right, and when do you finish that project, that element of it?
With the senior, which I'm now
Senior
confused.
Senior facility.
I would say we would finish between 3.5 and 4.5 years.
The senior.
Oh, I'm sorry. The senior rec center. That's a 2.5 year build.
How big is it?
Well, it has a pool. Anytime you put, there's comments or laughter, but pools are very complex to build. There's a whole set of regulations that we have to fill. We're building multiple pools right now. It takes to build the rec room, the gym, and the pool, and the showers, and the facilities. It takes a significant amount of time. The inspections required for a pool are far greater than for a home.
You weren't here. Were you here in 2019?
I was not.
Did you review any of the applications or documents that were submitted in 2019 before tonight's meeting?
I didn't review the staff report.
Your staff report, your internal documents?
When we reviewed the presentation that was made.
Did anybody ever, at that last meeting in 2019, did anybody tell the Planning Commission that you guys would need 3 to 3.5 years to finish that portion of the project?
I can't answer that.
Okay, thank you.
You're saying, just clarify, what you just said was that before phase one of the senior houses would be done, construction would start on that senior facility.
Correct.
Any other questions of the applicant? Commissioner Gray?
No, I think you guys have asked an awful lot of questions that have answered mine. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
We are going to close the public testimony portion of the hearing.
I got a question for staff real quick, though. I thought we were going to come back to staff. Are we not?
Yeah, we just had to close the public portion of it. So now,
Thank you. Okay.
So now we're there to comments or questions from the members of the Planning Commission. Commissioner Gray, you're up first.
I don't remember who was actually talking about the amendments and what this does and what doesn't it do, but for my clarification, as well as I think some of the people sitting in the public, what does an amendment give them and what does not an amendment do? I think that's something that's really important because it sounds that an awful lot of members of the Woodlands are very confused and frustrated with the given an amendment back in 2019, but then they were able to come in and make changes. Is that something that can still be happening? If we approve an amendment, can they then come in and say, now we want to change our designs and do something different? As well as the other question that I have for staff is there anything that code-wise that giving them an extension may not be in the community's best interest? If something that's been passed over the last couple of years that we've been continuously giving these extensions since 2004 that might be pertinent to the community and Simi Valley?
So if I may start the answer, if we do not allow the time extension, then basically the planned development permit that is approved for the senior housing goes away. Because with the expiration of the development agreement, the planned development permit for the senior housing also expires, which means that the applicant will need to start from scratch in terms of getting that entitled.
And if we do the amendment, can they still come back and make changes like they did this past summer? I'm
Well,
sorry, the summer of 21.
They attempted to make changes. So they can apply any time for changes like that. Even if it expires, they can still apply for changes. So in effect, they have that option either way, but that would still need to come in front of the Planning Commission and the City Council. In terms
Okay,
of
so in their presentation, the very thing, one of the very first slides, it had said, if they don't get the extension, it does not mean that they don't complete their projects. It just means that they have to go through all of their submissions and permits all over again, correct?
Yes, they have to get the planned development permit entitlement for the affordable housing again.
And then would they still be able to come back and potentially ask for a plan change in the future?
Applying for a new plan amendment, yes.
Okay,
They can come in for that at any time.
great, thank you.
Did that answer both your questions?
One
was about the codes? Was that? answered?
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Is there anything in codes that the city potentially were possibly losing out on because things have changed since 2004 that might be beneficial for today's codes? Or are we still keeping everything up to current codes, even if their extension is still the same? Is it just the permits that just don't have to get redone?
Well, there's numerous codes and fees that have changed since 2004, so they'd be subject to those codes, probably too exhaustive to describe. And one of the other outliers is if the development agreement did expire, the plan that you're looking at could change to something more drastic. There's continuous affordable housing changes and density bonuses. You can get a full other set of project. At least with this development agreement, the number of units is locked in, and it kind of keeps what's been entirely envisioned throughout that process in place. If the DA goes away, it could open up the door for a number of things which, we couldn't necessarily envision under the current zoning out there.
Mr. Twin, anything else to add?
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to, boil it down to the bare basics. A development agreement is basically an agreement contractually between the applicant and the city to kind of create some certainty in the development process so they could operate, depending on the term of the agreement, based upon whatever those conditions were at the time. If you were to let the development agreement expire, like staff mentioned, the development agreement was in 2004, and significant time has passed since then. In order for them to continue the process and continue the project, it is still possible, but they would have to spend the time and revise everything to make sure it's compliant with today's code, not that in 2004. So that is the potential difficulty in letting the development agreement expire, is that the project can still be done. It just has to follow the current codes now as opposed to in 2004.
Great. Thank you for all that clarification. I appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in or ask staff or?
I have no questions of staff.
Okay.
No questions of staff.
But I would like to have an opportunity to make some comments and to hear what the other commissioners think about these comments. Okay.
Great. Let's go ahead with that.
All right. May I proceed?
Please.
Thank you, Chairman Tolson. So the way I see it, there are really just a couple of questions tonight. The first one, of course, is extension or no extension. And if there is an extension, then the only other question is how long is that extension? We're not here to talk about whether or not the project should be this or be that, or to change or to evaluate whether or not the applicant during the period of extension, if one is granted, has the opportunity to make applications to change the project. Ultimately, I would think that if it was somebody came with an application to change the project, it made the project better and it got it done quicker, then people should be open-minded about that, if those things could be met. I'm dubious about that, and I don't think that they're planning on doing that. But the point I'm making is that there are limited questions that we have tonight, and that's just extension, no extension, and if so, how long. Evaluating that, I'd like to sort of talk a little bit about why there are limitations of time as far as I perceive them. So a applicant gets a entitlement for a project, and the project is to be built within a certain period of time, and there are reasons for that. Some of the reasons, of course, are that when an entitlement is provided to a builder or a developer, the city, the applicant, the other builders or homeowners in the area, the people who are going to buy the product and who buy into the product while the project is still perhaps being built, all want to have some expectation as to what it's going to be. And having that expectation and having it completed within a period of time that is expected is the purpose of the limitation of the time for the entitlements. So there are opportunities for extensions. There are certain circumstances where a project is approved and it changes in the marketplace. Look at 2008, 2009, changes things. And so you want to have an opportunity for there to be extensions of time so that you don't have to keep going back to square one just because the time passed because of market conditions or other things. In this particular project, and the other thing is typically the applicant comes and says, here's what I want to build. This is what I envision the project will be. Here's what I think will be good. And they come to the city and they work with staff and they come to the commission. And our job, the way I see it, is not to figure out ways to deny projects, but to help the applicant identify, sort of a channeling function, so that if they operate inside this channel, they're going to be fine. They come over here, well, they may need other approvals. If they come over here, they might need other approvals. But they come to us and say, this is what we want to do. Here's that's going to be good for the city. We look at it, and if it's designed so that it meets the design guidelines and has the zoning and it has all these other things, sometimes if it's a conditional use permit, they're offering certain amenities to the city that the city considers to be something of value, then it gets approved or it gets modified. But if they come to us and tell us what they want to do. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, where's the evidence of diligence? And one of the things that surprised me was I asked a question earlier of when it was after building the streets, when it was decided not to go forward and build the senior units. And it was 2016. Right after that got done. 2016, they decided this may not be the right project for Simi Valley. This may not be something that people in Simi Valley would want to buy, which was like a year or 2 years after they came to us and said, yeah, this is what we want to build, and we think this would be good for the city. And then, and maybe things did change. And I'm not a builder. I'm not a market analyst, and I have, to a certain extent, I have to defer to the people whose business this is. But at the same time, once you've made that decision in 2016, you got to get the leather to the horse to get moving to figure out what you're going to do with that particular project, that area. There is evidence, as far as I can see, that the low-hanging fruit was picked, and some of the other portions of the project, which was not perhaps such low-hanging fruit, was deferred. And it concerns me that this project originally approved in 2004, and then when it came for all the other final approvals in 2015, and here we are, we're looking at an application for 2017. I agree, and I think it's pretty clear that an extension serves the benefit of everybody. But I think 3 years is all we give. And the reason I say that is, and the other part is this, if guess what? If it's not done in 3 years, you're nice people, come on back. And if you can demonstrate that you've exercised an area of exercised due diligence, then I think that you're not going to have a problem. We're in a marketplace right now where houses will sell, I believe, and I think that I'm correct on this, New housing will sell before the certificate of occupancy is issued. Houses sell early and often. And these kinds of homes, the developer thought that they would work. I think that they'll work. And I don't see any particular reason to incentivize, and I think that providing 5 years would incentivize a lack of a level of diligence that could get the project done. If it has to be more time, it has to be more time. If we were in a soft market, I would say, geez, maybe it should be 5 years. We're not in a soft market. And I agree with Commissioner Gray and some of the speakers who commented on the fact that we have an interest in getting housing built. I understand that the interest of the current homeowners is different, and I'm not taking any sides whatsoever. So all that stuff in here about somebody developed a heck of a letter about issues they're having with the HOA is having with, or the homeowners are having with the HOA and the developer. That's not on my plate. But what I see is that in order to see to it that the expectations of people are properly met, the expectations of the city, the homeowners, it's time to say, okay, you need to get this done in 3 years. If it turns out that you're not entirely done in 3 years, come on back and tell us why. And I would think that would be quite sufficient.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Gray, do you want to speak next or any comments?
Let me go a little bit later.
Okay. Chairperson Rice?
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, I may be wrong, but I think this is the third time that this project has come before me since I've been up here. And I was here to approve the 3-year extension before. So if I was to approve another 3 years, that would mean that I've actually approved 6-year extension. And I think that's more than sufficient.
Perfect. Commissioner Gray?
I'm so sorry. I forgot there was only the 4 of us. Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of what Commissioner Hodge had to say. I do want to be able to have, developers come and say, these are our plans. This is how long it's going to take. But I have to, agree with Commissioner Rice that he was there 3 years ago. This would give a 6-year extension. At some point, it's a little concerning, in my opinion, that if in 2016, which was right around the second extension, they had stopped the construction and the roads had been built. So I think that a 3-year extension is plenty of time. I think that a 5-year extension just could be giving too much leniency. I think that a 3 years should be able to be enough to get the construction of the remaining 138 senior units, the senior facility, and the estate lots. And I have to agree with many people that spoke that we're in a hot market. I mean, you can't even buy a car right now without having to purchase it before you see it. And the amount of premiums, it's like everything is selling because there is demand, and housing is definitely one of them. And senior housing, I know a lot of people that are, just like one of the homeowners had said, parents that would love to be able to buy and not have a yard. So there's reasons for both. Single family homes, condominiums, a lot of seniors that I know don't want a yard anymore, or they want it to be maintained. So I'm okay with a 3-year extension.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the community involvement and the leniency and you might say compassion on our developer to say, you know what, as opposed to just scrapping it, and they've had plenty of time to do it, that they're willing to express a desire to extend the development agreement. I think that the time since 2004, 2005, technically this whole thing should have been done by now. And maybe needs to be said to the developer. This should have been done way before now. However, having said that, we are where we're at. And in my opinion, I think 5 years is what their projections are. In 2016, it was 3 years. I think 3 years is as a consensus amongst us tonight. I would strongly encourage the developer to produce a time frame, a timeline, so that the residents who, bought in full confidence of what you're doing with the project, that they have an idea of the timelines that we've talked about tonight. 6 to 8 weeks, plan, check. First phase of the senior project, the senior facility being started before the second phase of the senior project being done. Those kind of timelines that they can feel comfortable that it's happening. And if it means you submit a timeline that's 5 years and they see you doing those timelines in that order and accomplishing those things, and we still just do a 3-year extension, I think they would be happy. And I think the rest of us, again, like you said, if you came back in 3 years and asked for more, meaning all the senior housing has been done, the senior facility's been done, and we have 2 years left to do those the estate lots. More than likely, there's going to be less opposition from your neighbors who are your clients, former clients, and from the commission here and the city council. That's the extent of my comments. I think we have a consensus on how we can move forward.
Chair, if I may.
Please. Thank you, Mr. Twin.
I just wanted to clarify for the commission and also members of the public that this is going to be a recommendation to the city council on the decision on this development agreement. From what I've heard so far from all the commissioners, it sounds like the consensus is that they would take the staff's recommendation of 5 years but modify it to 3 and could recommend that to the city council. So if that's going to be the motion, I'd recommend you adopt staff's recommendation but modify it from 5 years to 3.
With a date of with the date of June 10, 2025.
Okay. Perfect. So, again, to the general public, this is going to proceed to the city council. Based upon what you've heard tonight, both from our commission and from the developer, I would proceed to encourage you to come back to the night of the city council.
Oh, Chair, there still is a resolution to be adopted.
Oh, we're there. We're almost there.
Okay, just making sure.
We're almost there. So anyway, so now we're ready to read the resolution, please.
Resolution number SVPC 03-2022. A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Simi Valley recommending to the City Council approval of a request to amend the Runkle Canyon Development Agreement DA 2021-0001, DA 0401, AMD 04, to allow a 5-year time extension for the Runkle Canyon Woodlands project located at the south terminus of Sequoia and Talbot Avenues and Watson and Comet Avenues, and pursuant to Public Resources Code Section 21166, additional environmental review is not required, as amended.
Well, yeah, I would move staff's reading of the resolution with the amendment of, because you said 5 years, with the amendment of 3 years to June 10, 2025.
Can you please read it?
Resolution number SVPC 03-2022. Resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Simi Valley recommending to the City Council approval of a request to amend the Runkle Canyon Development Agreement DA 2021-0001, DA 0401, AMD 04 to allow a 3-year time extension for the Runkle Canyon Woodlands project located at the south terminus of Sequoia and Talbot Avenues and Watson and Comet Avenues, and pursuant to Public Resources Code Section 21166, additional environmental review is not required.
The chair will now entertain a motion.
Move to approve staff's reading of the resolution.
I second.
Fantastic. We'll call for a vote. It's okay. Commissioner Gray.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Mann recused.
Wonderful. There is no appeal period for DA-2021-001, and this item will proceed to the City Council with the Planning Commission's recommendation.
Thank you, everyone.
Does the staff, we have oral communications and reports. Does the staff have anything to report?
Chairman Tolson, I have no items to report tonight other than we will inform you when the next Planning Commission meeting will be held.
Okay. Do any commissioners have anything to report? Commissioner Gray? Thank you.
I have none.
Mobile Home Rent Mediation Board, does the staff have anything to report?
No items tonight.
Tree Advisory Board, does the staff have anything to report?
No items for the tree board, thank you.
So this concludes the meeting of March 9th, 2022, and the next scheduled meeting will be announced and advised to us. Thank you very much. I don't have my hammer.